Okay. Hi there, it's Ben Stubbs of Making For You Guitar Tutorials, and it's a late night stream right now. And I had it in my mind to start doing some live streams more frequently. I used to do a couple here and there, and I thought that it'd be fun to do. Just gotta wait a little bit for some friends to hop in. Go ahead and say hi in the chat. Go ahead and give this video a like once you start liking it, right? Good evening, wherever you are. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat or if you cannot hear me. We'll get started in about a minute. All right, we'll get started. So this live stream is going to be titled From Stiff to Smooth on the flamenco guitar. So typically, if you're starting on the guitar and you've never played before, or if you're coming from a different style like jazz, on rock, classical, or whatever the case may be, blues, right? You're dealing with a different posture and a formality to your playing, to your left hand posture and your right hand movements. There's some adjustment that has to be done when you're making the switch over to the flamenco guitar. So I'm going to show you how to make those adjustments, whether you're totally new to the guitar or totally new to the flamenco guitar and you're coming from a different style and you have some experience. Let's say you've been playing guitar for about 2 years, maybe self-taught, or maybe you've taken a couple lessons and you're to the point to where you want to explore this new instrument, this new kind of playing style, at least new for you. And I'm going to show you how to kind of adapt to that new style and to solve the problem of, seemingly feeling and sounding stiff in your playing. So first off, I just want to say that have an open mind when I talk to you about this kind of stuff like that. It's important to know that if you've felt kind of intimidated by these techniques, like talk about alzapua and picado, arpeggios, and rasgueos and strumming, yeah, it can seem like a lot to chew on, but you just take everything one at a time and just have an open mind as we talk about this stuff. So when you're coming from another style of guitar, then this actually won't seem so foreign as you might thought it to be at first. So let's get started right now. So if you're coming from another style, typically you've been using two things. Maybe you've been using your thumb to do some fretting work, and maybe you've been using a pick, right? So let's say here you've been playing like an A chord, right? Or an E chord, A chord, A minor chord, and your thumb is hanging over because you might be using it, maybe in the E major chord, to play like a G like that with your thumb. So in the flamenco style, we don't use that. In the classical style, you don't use the thumb because to be honest, the neck is pretty wide to be doing fretwork with your thumb. So if you're new to the guitar, or if you're new to the flamenco or the classical nylon string guitar, is that you're going to notice the first thing that you do when you pick it up, you're going to notice that the neck's quite wider. So what do you do with this thumb? Where does it go? Good question, because in the flamenco style, you'll drop it and it's going to anchor behind the neck. Same thing in classical. So if you come from the classical world, this is nothing new to you. You'll have it behind. And if you're playing like an A minor chord, right, you're going to notice a big difference about what you can do, especially with your pinky finger, for instance, in the A minor chord. So let's say, for instance, you're doing an A minor chord and you want to do these descending notes from G to G flat to F, like that. It's doable, but if you try it yourself, you're going to find that there's really not a lot of space that you're working with. You really could get much more space to your advantage fretting these notes if you just would drop the thumb. And here's what I mean. So just give it a try. Pick up your guitar and fret this A minor chord. Now have your thumb fully out like this, like you would on an electric guitar or steel string, and then place your fourth finger on the G string, or sorry, rather the G note on the E string, on the third fret. Okay, no big deal. And then you slide it down to the G flat. What do you notice is that this fourth finger is starting to really get clustered up with your third finger. And even more so when you want to do this mini bar chord right here with your first finger to play the F, like that. You're going to notice your fingers are just jumbled up. They're really scrunched together, and it doesn't have to be that way. The way that you get more space is just simply by dropping the thumb. Now try it. So hold this A minor chord, drop the thumb behind the neck, and see all this extra space that you get to work with. Now, your fourth finger is free and clear to fret the G note quite easily, and come to the G flat without intersecting with the third finger, right? So it goes right underneath it, no big deal. And then, of course, the sahia, or the mini bar chord that you do with the first finger, you can finally flex it easily. Whereas if you have it like this, right, with the thumb showing, making its debut, you really can't flex that knuckle like that. It's kind of stuck in the static position. Hey, Lawrence. Hey, good to see you. So in Lauren's case, you've been at least taking a look at this style for the past 2 years. And that's awesome. That's awesome. There's a lot of interest, I think, in the Spanish style of guitar and the flamenco guitar style that's been kind of popping up here and there. And I prefer it. I think it's the best. I like it. So, Laurent, if you've been tuning in for the past 2 years and learning from this channel, that's wonderful to hear. Thanks for putting that in the comments. So that's one thing that you could change about your playing to go from feeling stiff to smooth. The next thing, let's focus on a right hand. So if you're coming from jazz, if you're coming from blues, rock, of course you've played with a pick in most cases, right? And so if you've been playing with a pick, your posture is pretty much just kind of fixed, right? So it's moving up and down, right? Maybe doing some downward chucking like this, maybe doing some alternate picking. But the case being is that your wrist is being pretty much static, right? And if you're strumming, there's a little bit of twisting. With the flamenco style, there's quite a bit much more movement going on with the forearm. The forearm is rotating a lot. The wrist has to be pretty relaxed, and you have to use the natural weight of the forearm and the hand down for your accented notes that are played usually with the M and the A kind of working in tandem, maybe a little bit with the I finger for those downward notes. Now see how I'm moving down this way? I'm actually moving the forearm. If you look closely, the forearm's entirely moving. The wrist is bent this way a little bit, so it's like a pendulum swinging back and forth. Whenever you're doing the upward and movements, you want to take the weight of the hand and allow it to just drop down. Whereas with the pick, like I said, you're kind of fixed. Like that. Not a lot of movement right there. But if you're using the thumb or if you're using strumming movements, you're getting a little bit more of this pendulum kind of a feel to it. You want to get that weightiness down. So allow the wrist to be bent a little bit more inward towards you, and allow the forearm to have more fluidity in its playing. That's another way that you'll notice that you could take your playing from stiff and getting it more fluid and smooth and relaxed is what you're going to need for all the compasses, no matter what you're playing, especially in the rumba. So what you have that, if you've seen one of the earlier videos I've made, and a couple more on rumba, we go over the basics of that movement. Whatever you're doing with tapping and stuff like that, or slapping, the fundamental basis remains is that there's this pendulum movement like this. So this back and forth pendulum movement. Laurent, you ask, what's the best melancholic flamenco chords for a beginner? Mine is the A minor 7 and the B minor 7, like Paco de Lucia's song. Absolutely. Because with that, what's your first chord in the progression is going to be E minor. So what he's saying is that like the A minor 7, like Paco de Lucia's Entre los Aguas, and B minor 7, A minor 7, and then resoluting to B7 like this. And then the first chord is going to be E minor. Now, if you wanted Lorraine to sound more melancholic, you can add an added ninth to it. So just climb up where you take this note, the E, and then you move it up a whole step, right? And you could use the fretting fingers or position that you'd like. So let's say you want to kind of retain this E minor position like this. You can stretch your fourth finger up to the 4th fret of the D string. So I don't know how much more melancholic that you can get than that one. Perhaps maybe, no, that's not it. Yeah, the E minor add 9 would probably be the safe bet. That's what I would go with. It's transferable even to A minor. So take A minor. I'll just stretch it up here so that your 4th finger is going to be on the 4th fret once again of the G string. That was just one step that made all the difference, one whole step. Good question, Ryan. Very good question. Next, let's see, left hand tension, choppy transitions. This is really interesting. This is not exclusive to flamenco guitar, what I'm about to show you here. But what it is utilizing the positions and the fingering positions to their advantage when you're doing these chord progressions like the Andalusian cadence. In the instance of A minor to G7 to F to E, added flat 9th. What I want you to do, once again, this comes back to having an open mind. Have an open mind about this, about what I'm about to show you. You might be used to lifting up all your fingers when you come from a chord to another. Try this from now on when you're playing. When you're transitioning from one chord to another, look at the commonalities of the fingering. Ask yourself, what finger in this chord position does it share with the next chord in the progression? Okay, A minor, I'm looking at it. Now I go to G7. I'm looking at the first finger. No, nothing. In the G7 chord, I'm not using my first finger. I'm using my second finger, but it has to go from the E note down to the B note. Okay, what about the third finger? It's going from the A note down to the G note. That's a big movement, so nothing's the same. What about the 4th finger? The 4th finger, the A minor, wasn't being used, and now it's being placed on the F note. And so it's a totally different position. So there's no common positions of fingering between A minor and G7. What's the significance about that? Well, just stay with me. Now from G7, our next chord is going to be F, like this, with an open B and an E like that, for added mystique. What's the commonality between G7? Now take a look at my fingers and F. Let's just go one finger by one by one. The first finger, it's no commonality. It's not being used in the G7. It's being used in the F to play the F note, but there's no commonality. Second finger is playing the B note in the G7, but in the F note, it goes to the A note right here. No commonality. Third finger, G7. Third finger is playing the G note. And where does it go? It goes to the C note. No commonality. Let's try the 4th finger. I know that sounds redundant, but keep an open mind. G7, 4th finger's on the F note here on the 3rd fret of the D string. Now, coming to the F, what do we know? The 4th finger is still in the same place. It's on the 3rd fret of the D string, playing the F note. So it stays G7, it remains F the whole time. Why is that important? That's important because it allows you as a guitar player to transition between two chords and not be so reliant on your eyes. You can look away, and by having that 4th finger on that note, it's going to give you sensory input, letting you know relatively where your other fingers are in relationship to that 4th finger. Don't believe me? Just try it. So try it. G7, now F. Get out of the habit, if you have this bad habit, of lifting all the fingers up and then replacing them back. How redundant is that? We want to look for economy of movement in the flamenco guitar style because it's a fast, kind of rapid way of switching chords. It's demanded for you if you're accompanying dancers or singers. You have to be able to bounce back and forth between chords rather quickly on the spot. Wouldn't it be good if you knew where those commonalities were? So if you get familiar with the Andalusian cadence in different keys, like A minor, G to F to E in this open tuning, then it'll become pretty familiar to you about how those relationships exist. Let's move on. G7 now to F. Okay, so we know that commonality is that fourth finger. So what do we have to do? Just keep it down there the whole time. Next one is going to be E. Okay, E, added flat ninth. That flat ninth is the F note there. So basically, I can go through all the fingers. I can just look at them, first finger and second finger and third finger, and there's no commonalities. They're all moving to different positions, but this fourth finger stays there the whole time on the F note. So that means not the A minor chord, but from G7 to F to E, added flat ninth, I can keep that fourth finger there the whole time there. So if, let's say if I'm doing bulerías, right? I can keep it there. And I don't have to lift up all the fingers and replace them. And I can concentrate on my right hand if I need to, take my eyes and attention away to my right hand if I need to, and take it away from the fretboard because I got this fourth finger giving me some information about where I'm at. So notice that with the exception of A minor, the whole time I just kept my fourth finger down like that. And we call this a finger anchor. Some people might call it tracing. Tracing is more of when you're taking a finger and you're attaching it to the string, not fretting it, but you're gliding along the strings to give you that information about where you are and to guide you to the next chord position. So we do that in these bar chords like this, like F and up to A. You can use your second finger as a tracing finger, but this is an anchor finger. It just stays in the same place the whole time. So that's how you would remedy a choppy transition on the flamenco style. So what comes after that? What else did I want to say about that? Well, right hand relaxation drill. Demonstrate how to keep fingers loose but controlled. Oh, well, this is something that's really important on the right hand of flamenco guitar. Gardenia, hi. Very happy to be live streaming right now. It's a late night live stream, and we're gonna kind of start doing these a little bit more, just to give you a chance. If you're on the West Coast or East Coast, and you're getting off work, it's been a long day. You can come into this live stream and check out some, tips and tricks for the flamenco guitar. And to give you a little background about what I do is I've been teaching flamenco guitar for about 15 years, and I teach it to adults, men and women that are just busy adults like yourselves, and who have always wanted to learn how to play the flamenco guitar. And maybe you come from a different style, or maybe the guitar is new to you, but you always had this yearning and this kind of this affinity for the flamenco style, or at least the Spanish guitar style. And I know that when you listen to it first, you feel this connection, like I always have, that you want to connect with the music, want to be a part of it. And what better way to do that is to actually produce the music yourself with your own hands on your instrument. How exciting of a feeling is that? I know it's always been that way for me. So I teach that to adults who always wanted to be able to do that, and we make it possible by having groups, by having other people encourage you in our groups. And so that's part of our program, and I encourage you to, and I keep you accountable for your progress and keeping on it. It takes some dedication, but it doesn't take like several hours of playing a day. No, that's a different level. That's a different level. What I'm talking about is something that you do for recreation, and the flamenco style is challenging compared to other styles, I would say, because the techniques are very intricate and they're very definitive, and they have to sound a certain way. They require you to have your nails kind of shaped. You have to kind of maintain those a little bit, and you have to practice, and you have to have a feeling and an oomph to the style of playing. But if it's something that you desire to do, it's something that you surely can do. You just need somebody to play along with, and somebody to have fun, playing duets with and accompanying. You need somebody along the way. That's the best way. That's the best way that I learned how to play guitar, and most flamenco guitarists, and whatever style that it's not exclusive to flamenco. People that have siblings that they learn the instrument along the way. That was the case with me. My brother, he played guitar, and at one time, I'd be better than him, or he'd be better than me, and there was always that competition, a healthy competition, and support, and kind of uh, accountability amongst each other. Because if one wanted to play one song and as a duet, then the other had to keep up and be able to play and keep up the rhythm on their instrument. So that's really the key. That's the secret sauce to being able to learn an instrument in your adult life. When you're a kid, you kind of have no choice. Your parents subject you to it, and you have to practice and all that stuff. You have to learn the theory, if you take theory classes along with those music exercises. But when you're learning in adulthood, it's totally different. You're trying to fit this into your life, and you can't learn it the same way. It has to be fun the whole time. So that's what we do. So if you're interested in those kind of lessons, that format, go ahead and text flamenco to 949-992-1102. Or you can just click on the link below, and you could look actually on my Patreon site. Just want to kind of get your feet wet. You can take a look at those lessons. And otherwise, if you want to talk to me, go ahead and book a call in the link provided below. That's pretty much all the time that we have for tonight. So with that, we'll talk to you later, and it was a pleasure to have you. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Take care.